Okay, I guess my mic was muted. But anyway, welcome to another episode of Jackson Pitchkins. This is Tom Powell. Dave Holcomb is out today, getting married for the second time in 1 year. But, you know, what are you going to do? Most guys, I guess, only get married once, and that's about all they can do with it. But Dave, and I'm just teasing Dave, Dave is great. Uh, he's having the ceremony. He and Shannon are having the ceremony that they couldn't have last year because of COVID-19 restrictions, and he's able to be with family and friends today. I actually wish I could have been there with him. Should be a great time. Dave and Shannon are wonderful people, and I wish them all the best in the future moving forward as they get married again today. And we will see Dave next week on the show on Pigskins. But right now, we're going to talk about last night's game. Julio Jones didn't dress. He actually didn't even travel with the Titans to Atlanta. But Tennessee overpowered the Falcons last night anyway. Really, the Falcons' offense uh, kind of burned, crashed and burned, I guess is the best way you could say it. Uh, but realize nothing is as good or bad as it looks in the preseason, especially in game one. Oh, also, I wanted to add I don't have a producer today. So I will be kind of handling things on my own, which is why my mic was muted to start off because I wasn't paying attention. But um, I do want you to know that I will try and get your comments taken care of and read and answered as much as I can today because I'm going to be, my attention's kind of going to be in a few different directions as we move forward. Uh, but again, nothing is as good as bad as it looks in the preseason, especially in game one. The Falcons were looking at 20 undrafted free agents on their roster last night. So you knew it was kind of rough because practically half the roster didn't dress. Most of the players were third, fourth string undrafted free agents, guys who are trying to make the squad, guys who are trying to make an impression uh, and get the eye of the coaches and see if they can't uh, get some time in the and in the second and third preseason games. There were positives from yesterday's game, but how can I get on your podcast, man? Ron, ah, okay. Are you in the studio? You got to get in the studio. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know if Chris gave you the link to get into the studio. I don't have it. Uh, but we're hoping to get Ron Thomas, who was. Now we were thinking about trying to get him on the show today, but wasn't able to. Apparently, wasn't able to get him in time, and Chris wasn't able to get him the link to the show. So we're going to move forward. Hopefully, he can get on as we go forward. Uh, and as I say, I'll still work to get your questions answered. Uh, we're going to talk about the bad first. Let's get the bad out of the way because there are some good things to talk about last night, but you can't avoid what didn't look good. Uh, the first thing, the offensive line got manhandled. Uh, I don't think anybody made an impression last night uh, on the offensive line. Uh, let's see. Second round pick, third round pick, Jalen Mayfield. I'm sorry. Jalen Mayfield had a rough game, had a rough first series. Had was the reason why Tajay Sharp's first pass was called back. Tajay Sharp made a good grab on his first ball thrown his way, but got called back because of Mayfield. Uh, Illegal formation penalty. So, and Mayfield just looked overmatched in his first game. Now, again, third round pick, it's not going to matter as much. He's going to be, he's basically going to be on the team. The Falcons aren't just going to cut a third round pick, even if he plays bad in his first preseason game. So don't worry as much about Jalen Mayfield and the way he looked last night. Uh, I think we're going to see better out of him as it goes forward. I know Caleb McGarry and Chris Lindstrom were trying to coach him up for a while in the first half and see if they can kind of give him some hints, some things he could do better. But overall, that line was just getting beaten off the ball like you wouldn't believe, and it was terrible. And you didn't see much of the Arthur Smith offense um, because AJ McCarron did not have much time to do anything. There wasn't much time for receivers to get open, for the running backs to make any kind of impression. Uh, and boy, we could tell AJ McCarron is not an athletic quarterback based on what we saw yesterday. Uh, it would have been nice to be able to have seen uh, more of what McCarron can do because right now, based on that first appearance last night, uh, I know Falcons fans are hoping that Matt Ryan stays healthy the entire year uh, because there really is nobody behind him, and it's going to be rough if Ryan goes down. As I say, McCarron, a lot of it wasn't his fault. Uh, some of it looked a little slow, like it was more slowly paced under McCarron. I don't think they had the well, we got to comment on that one. He sucked. Yeah, he was bad, but as I say, it's hard to do anything when you're being chased all over the field, back and forth, and not being able to get, I barely able to get pressure. You saw McCarron can't roll out, trying to roll away from pressure, can't do it. Uh, and unfortunately, as I say, the entire offensive line struggled. But again, these are threes and fours. Uh, these are not the guys. A lot of them are not the guys who are going to end up on the team as we get started in the regular season. So the only disappointing thing again was that we just didn't get a chance to see that. We didn't get a chance to see that offense from Arthur Smith that I think a lot of fans were looking forward to seeing last night. And next Saturday, when the Falcons do go to Miami to play the Dolphins, I would expect that you're going to see you might actually see Matt Ryan and all the starters play for at least one series, maybe two, just so Arthur Smith can see how his offense is progressing in uh, in Atlanta and see how the Falcons are absorbing what he's been trying to teach so far in training camp. It's it wasn't pleasant to watch last night, but remember, those are not the guys who are going to be here uh, when the season opens. So, and hopefully, I would like to see Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley and Pitts and Kyle Pitts and a lot of the other ones get a couple of series next week, just so we can see how this offense looks when the way it's supposed to look when everybody is on the field, everybody's playing. So That was a disappointment. Team wise, the defensive front just got shredded on the ground, and Tennessee didn't even have Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry didn't make the trip. Uh, that was just terrible to see. I know, Sports Live in Atlanta. I understand it was a preseason game. Took nothing good or bad from it. Nothing to analyze. There are some things to analyze. You can take some things out of the preseason, out of a preseason game that, you know, as I say, um, the defense got shredded, but Dean Pease, normally you get a lot of vanilla in the preseason. Dean Pease wasn't happy with just vanilla defense last night. And that was one of the positives that came out of it, out of last night's game. Pease makes some blitzes into defense, keep the Titans on their toes, because, you know, last it was rough. Basically, um, Logan Woodside kind of won the battle of the backup quarterbacks over A.J. McCarron. But Pease mixed some blitzes into the defense and made things a little difficult for Woodside and got some results. Uh, two first half sacks, and excuse me if I do butcher this name, but just Tuioti Mariner uh, did not get the sacks, but disrupted the pocket on both of them. So, you know, a guy who's in his third season and actually, looked, you know, kind of forced Woodside out of the pocket, forced Woodside to make a quicker decision. And that, nothing for me. Okay. And I appreciate your opinion. But, this is what they've given us to talk about so far. I mean, we gotta see what we can take from keep doing you. It's all my opinion. Thanks. I appreciate that. So, you know, as I say, you got to take something out of last night. Tuioti Mariner disrupted the pocket on both sacks. A little surprised. I did not think that Jonathan. I did not know that Jonathan Bullard was in Atlanta, uh, playing defensive end, trying to latch on with the team as a defensive end. Played 3 seasons here in Chicago. Was a third round pick out of Florida in 2016, and overall just disappointed. Never caught on. Never really. Um, Never did much for the Bears in his 3 seasons here. So a little surprised. I guess, if you're in that Atlanta situation, you do whatever you can. You try to, you're trying to find anybody who can generate a pass rush. But one guy you might want to look at who actually played strong last night was Marlon Davidson. Uh, Actually, played like a second round draft pick, you play like you expect them to play. Um, so that's kind of what you would want to see from Davidson last year, or at least a little bit. Now, again, are we going to see? Are we going to see Davidson as we go forward? Because he came out of college as an edge rusher, but Peace was playing him in the middle last night, and Davidson got a couple of good rushes up front. Didn't get a sack, but uh, made one good hit on the quarterback and forced an incompletion on another play where he got in the quarterback's face. Showed a couple of nice, strong bull rushes up front. Uh, Good hand moves as far as playing the center, getting by the center, getting between the center and guard, and and that's kind of what you wanted to see out of Davidson, as I say, last year. Yeah, then we last year. Yep, they sure did. No kidding. But as I say, part of that was because uh, Pease wasn't satisfied with being vanilla. He didn't want to just show. He wanted to show what he could do. Want to give the fans, maybe he just didn't want to. It's hard to go into a game and when you're getting beat as bad as the Falcons were in the first couple of drives, uh, you don't want to get embarrassed. And I think Pease kind of brought out a couple of A gap pressures, a couple of safety blitzes, corner blitzes, brought the linebackers in a couple of times, as I say, through the A gap, and kind of made things a little rough on Woodside after Woodside had a strong showing. Third drive, the Falcons also had a strong defensive stand when they Titans had the ball in the Falcons 14 after a strong punt return. Uh, the Falcons defense held 3 and out and held the Titans to a field goal on that drive. So very positive. And another thing that you got to think about is, yeah, the punt coverage, kickoff coverage wasn't, well, you really didn't see any kickoffs, but punt coverage wasn't a lot of what you're going to see in the regular season uh, because of Cordero Patterson. He is going to be the guy who's going to be one of the gunners, and you're not going to see those long returns in the regular season as you did in the preseason. Believe me, Patterson plays sharp on special teams. You can put two man on him, you know, on the line of scrimmage. Patterson A is fast. B he's got receiver moves, and three he's strong. So when Patterson comes off the line, yeah, he knows how to play contact off the line of scrimmage, strong enough to get off of two defenders who are trying to keep him locked up off the line of scrimmage, and fast enough to almost beat the football down to wherever it's coming down. So you're not going to see those long punt returns during the regular season. So don't worry as much about what went wrong on special teams last night because a lot more is going to go right when Cordero Patterson starts showing what he can do. Uh, let's see. Let's go on in the game. Uh, Fifth round pick, Ogundegi, played strong in his first action last night. So encouraging from a fifth round pick, you know, more going to provide more depth probably this first season, actually seeing a lot of action, but still encouraging that you see a draft pick, somebody who, you know, got your hopes up, you know, on draft day on the third in the third day of the draft, and you think maybe you pick somebody up who can contribute, and it looked like Ogundegi might actually contribute to what the Falcons are going to do. Another guy I really liked watching last night, and I like a player whose number is always showing up on the screen. Uh, Even if he isn't making the tackle, even if he isn't making the play, the guy who just always seems to be there, always seems to read what's happening, always seems to know what's happening uh, as the play unfolds. And he's an undrafted free agent, but Dorian Etheridge at linebacker, very strong, has a nose for the football, and has very good closing speed. I really liked what I saw out of him last night. Led the Falcons with 7 solo tackles, 3 of them for loss. So, number 48, Dorian Etheridge, I think is going to be a guy we're going to want to keep an eye on in the second and third preseason games. This is a guy who's going out there and doing what you want to see a player do. Uh, make himself noticed. He's going to show up on the game film. Arthur Smith, Dean Pease, they're going to be watching the game film, and they're going to be seeing a lot of Dorian Etheridge. And that's what you want out of a young player. That's what you want to see. That's how he's going to make the team. Uh, that's how a lot of these undrafted free agents, a lot of these rookies, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, uh, they're going to make a lot of, get going. They're going to make their team. They're going to make the team in the special teams. Sorry about that. Sometimes the tongue gets a little bit tied, but hey, we're enthusiastic. We got football. We had football last night, folks, and yeah, it wasn't what we were looking for, but we had football. Uh, so let's see. Let me get my stats up here. Richie Grant didn't impress me as much in his first game action than, but again, you know, it's early and Grant is a second rounder. He's going to get his reps, and he's got a lot of learning to do. He showed that last night. Uh, got beat by the tight end. D played well. He's pushing for reps. Enjoyed the game. His scheme sacks. Yeah, Pantera, I'm with you. Exactly. Uh, let's put Pantera's comment up on the screen. Defensive end played well, pushing for reps. Yeah, and that's what all you're looking for out of this out of a first preseason game. As I say, as I started the show, you know, it's never as bad as it looks in the preseason. Not well, as I say, never as good as it looks, but it's also not as bad as it looks because you're looking at a lot of players. You're trying to get a lot of guys time and see what they can do, and you're trying to impress. And I thought Dorian Etheridge really impressed. So very happy with him. Uh, Another guy that I liked seeing last night, and let me call his name up here, but made an impression to me on special teams, and that's what you're looking for. You gotta kind of, when you're a rookie, when you're a undrafted free agent, this is kind of what you want. Is you got to make that impression. Rain made an impression on me on special teams. So I do, when you're on the cusp of, you're on the edge, you're kind of on the bubble of your position group. This is what you want. You want to see guys who are making the plays on special teams. Yes, Cordero Patterson is going to be the main guy on your coverage team, but Rain and Etheridge, these are guys who are going to make the team. If they're going to make the team, they're going to make it on special teams, and they showed strong on special teams last night. I was very happy to see what the Falcons were able to do. Look for them to come into the season with a lot stronger coverage teams. Roland actually showed some good hustle. 12 per punt, 12 yards per punt return average. And let's see how many carries he had. Okay, Chris Rowland, 2 punt returns, 34 yards, so averages 17 yards. He's the guy who did the punt returning in the first half. And looks like the Falcons really want to see Chris Rowland take that job. That's one thing Patterson doesn't do. He does kickoff returns, but he doesn't do punt returns. So Chris Rowland showed strong on punt returns. And this is something, as I say, something you want to see, this guy coming in and grabbing that job. Because that was another weakness of the Falcons last year. Just, bad field position, bad special teams. You're working on a longer field. It's a lot tougher to get the ball into the red zone to be effective on offense if you're driving 75 to 80 yards every drive. It doesn't work. And even with Matt Ryan at quarterback, it doesn't work. So, um, that's another reason why, I want to see Roland play strong and see what he can do because you're going to look for him next season as somebody who can help the Falcons get a lot better field position. Cut down the work that the offense has to do. Uh, I remember when Lovie Smith was coach in Chicago, was the head coach. A lot of the thinking behind his cover two defense was the fact that the farther an offense has to travel, farther they have to drive, the more likely they were to make mistakes. So he let you eat up yards in chunks, 5, 6 yards at a time, but you're going to make a mistake at some point if you have to go 75 or 80 yards at some point. Uh, you're going to end up with a penalty, and that's another thing that really disturbed me about the team last night was the penalties. Very undisciplined and not something you want to see in your first game, especially after a couple of weeks of training camp. You would like to see a little bit more discipline on the line. But okay, where was I going now? So talking about mistakes, that's just something you don't want to see. Uh, let's see. We had one bad one. Jamon Moore dropped a third down catch, third down attempt from Felipe Franks. And yeah, Felipe Franks played pretty well last night, ran pretty well last night. Really liked what I saw out of him, but he's not the guy, and he's not going to be the guy, and he's here to learn. Uh, he's kind of somebody that you're looking at. Maybe he can 2 or 3 years down the road temper his athleticism and start looking downfield a little bit more. Great instincts for the game. So that's one thing. That's one thing that was nice to see. The O line needed to get better. Yes, definitely. But as I say, they were looking at threes and fours, threes undrafted free agents, um, and that's the thing. That's kind of what as I said, I would like to see the Falcons come out and do next season, or I mean next week against Miami. Is let's see Matt Ryan. Let's see the ones, and let's see how the starting offensive line looks, protecting Matt Ryan. Let's see Kyle Pitts run a couple. Impressive. Uh, Larry Orange. I was impressed with Felipe Franks. Better than AJ McCarron. Yeah, as I say, this is a rookie. This is a guy you kind of bring in and say uh, he has a lot of the tools that you want to see. Uh, Unfortunately, he doesn't have the experience. And he showed that he tucked the ball and ran a couple of times when he had open receivers. Uh, wasn't looking at his progressions as much. Uh, so, you know, what we saw of him was very good. As I say, he's got good instincts. He has a solid arm, but he's going to have to take a lot of time, especially when he starts playing against the twos and starting, defensive lines, starting players. Uh, One team start disguising blitzes on him. When teams start disguising coverages on him. Um, McCarron, as it was terrible last night, but didn't get any time. So not much you could say. Yeah, Felipe Franks is going to look better than McCarron. McCarron does at least have some uh, time in the NFL as a backup quarterback. So there's not much you can do with that now. Don't think that Felipe Franks is going to beat out AJ McCarron for the number 2 quarterback spot. It's not going to happen. Franks is going to end up on the practice squad. He's probably going to, be on the sidelines with the clipboard during the season watching. And as I say, you got to hope either McCarron with a solid front and with time actually looks better as a quarterback, as I say, he had no time. He was on the run almost from the snap. So it makes it tough to go through your progression doing that. So expect Felipe Franks to be on the squad come uh, week one, but as I say, third string quarterback on the bench, kind of learning, soaking up everything Matt Ryan can teach him. And maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, we see something out of Felipe Franks. Maybe McCarron with the first string, Larry Orange. Yeah, and that's another thing. I want to see Matt Ryan. I want to see Matt Ryan with first string. I want to see the entire first string. Um, at least one drive next week against the Dolphins. Uh, and then maybe keep the first string in and put McCarron in a quarterback for a couple of drives. It would be nice to see McCarron or the second string because I don't think really the second string played last night. It was all threes and fours and the kind of the bottom of the roster. So and that's going to make life difficult for a quarterback no matter what, no matter who he is. Matt Ryan would have had problems throwing last night. There's just nothing you can do when you're under that kind of pressure. So, maybe for a drive, let's see McCarron with the ones and another drive, see McCarron with the twos. Because the second string, I didn't see, according to the Falcons' first official depth chart, I did not see any of those guys on the field last night. And a little surprised that some of the twos uh, did not get some exposure last night. But we really didn't see. We saw Chris Williamson at cornerback, and got beat for a touchdown pass. Williamson looked a little surprised. He's got to learn that in the NFL, there is such a thing as a back shoulder pass, and he had great coverage, but did not look over his shoulder to see where the ball was, and thought he had great coverage on the receiver as far as fronting him, but Woodridge threw the back shoulder pass and beat him on it. And you're going to learn. These are the things you learn, and I say with Richie Grant, these are the things you're going to learn. Richie Grant's not going anywhere. I looked better than Karen did last night. Oh, Ron Thomas coming in. Yeah, I know. As I say, it's but again, Ron, when you're running for your life and you're not an athletic quarterback, uh, you know, you're not going to be able to do what you're not going to be able to run much of an offense. And I think Arthur Smith was very disappointed that he wasn't able to see as much of his offense in action last night uh, than he's installed for the first 2 weeks. And that's another reason why I think you're going to see Matt Ryan actually dress out the first string actually dress out next week and run a series or two. So, but yeah, let's see what McCarron looks like with the twos. Um, a couple other things. Looking at the first depth chart, and I know it's very unofficial, very early. One of the guys I like and I want to see more of, and he had two good catches last night, but the problem was they were both called back because of penalty, was Tajay Sharp. Um, I want to see Tajay Sharp more. He had a good third down catch, like a 15-yard catch, but it was called back because of the uh, uh, illegal formation call. I'm sorry. Uh, sometimes, you get a little, the mind isn't, well, I'm not going to say the mind isn't as sharp, but, you know, sometimes you just got to think a little bit before you move forward. Jalen Mayfield, as I say, that was his penalty, the illegal formation. Uh, a lot of things in the second half didn't go well, and I don't think a lot of those players, a lot of undrafted free agents that you saw in the second half are going to be with the team. The one time you actually got to look up, and the camera is showing Dean Pease up in the press box, up, uh, running the defense from up in the box. And Pease at one point in the second half, I think in the fourth quarter, was shaking his head, uh, was not liking what he was saying. I do think Pease liked what he was saying in the first half. So, and I liked a lot of what I was saying in the first half. Things fell apart a bit in the second half. I didn't see any of those guys really impress me on special teams, too. And that's another thing. If you're an undrafted free agent, that's where you're going to make it. So, this is not a good group. Pantera went, yeah, didn't see any Falcons injuries. Titans had looked like two serious knee, one Achilles issues. Yes. Titans had a couple of bad injuries last night. But again, they were dressing out their ones. Uh, you know, but they did get injured. There were no injuries for the Falcons last night. The Falcons came away from the game healthy. So that's also a big positive. That's another thing you want to see. Another issue, and just came to my mind that what we're dealing with here after game one is the Tennessee Titans, even down to their second and third string, are a lot more cohesive than the Falcons are right now. The Falcons have brought in a lot of players, are looking at a lot of players, they're evaluating what they have. The Titans were a playoff team last year. This is a strong Tennessee Titans team, even behind their first string players who didn't even most of them didn't even travel. Um, so you're gonna that's another thing you want to take into account is that we didn't see these the Titans under Mike Vrabel. They've had a 2.5 seasons now, and they are take let's say from the Atlanta Falcons. One of the guys, that's a good question, Ron. One of the guy who's going to take laps is Jamon Moore uh, for that third down throw that from Franks that he didn't pull in. Uh, Hit him in the hands. Basically that's something any wide receiver, no matter what, if you're going to be in the NFL, you got to hang on to a ball like that. Good throw by Franks, put it right where uh, Jamon Moore could get his hands on it, and Moore, just plain dropped it. Definitely going to run laps. Uh, Another guy, the guy who did the roughing the kicker last night, uh, number 38, who is, you know, and believe me, we're not going to be thinking about these guys going for Marcus Murphy. Uh, Marcus Murphy uh, really gave it his all, but again, as they brought up on the telecast, you got to have a launch point and a land point when you're trying to block a field goal. And Murphy was just way too deep in the backfield and made contact. And Tennessee took the points off the board and finished off scoring a touchdown on the drive. So that is definitely going to end up with laps for him. But I didn't see a lot of other. The coaches are going to see a lot more than what I can tell you from watching the telecast, because they're going to be studying through the film. They're going to be going through a lot of it today. So, but those are the two obvious ones that I think definitely run laps. They're not going to. They did not do themselves any favors. Two guys who are on the back of the roster did not do themselves any favors as far as trying to make this team. So, One of the things, as I was saying about Tajay Sharp, spent 4 years in Tennessee. A guy I wanted to see the Bears draft in the fourth or fifth round when he came out of college, and he's been in this league 5 seasons now, and I think there's a lot there. He had 2 catches yesterday, but they're not on the stat sheet because both were wiped out by penalty, but they were both very good catches, especially the third down play. I think that was on the second or third drive, and did a very good job getting to the ball, getting his feet down, getting out of bounds, and the the penalty called it back. So he had 2 pass catches called back. Keep your eye on Tajay Sharp going forward. I like Tajay Sharp. I've always liked Tajay Sharp, and I want to see what he can do in this offense in week 2 and 3 of the preseason. So um, let's see. What else can we say about last night's game that hasn't already been said? You know, again, it's not a lot that you want to worry about. Um, and that's the thing. Ron Thomas was absolutely right as far as uh, you know you're not seeing the ones, you're not seeing the twos. Oh, and one other thing I did want to bring up and wasn't in my notes, and that's why I almost forgot about it. Uh, Running back. I really expected to see Kadre Olison yesterday. And we saw more of Caleb Hunte and Deontay Foreman than we really. I don't even know if Quadre Olison dressed out for yesterday's game or if he just didn't see the field. But he's on the unofficial depth chart at number 4 in the running backs. And I was really expecting to see more from Olison, going forward this preseason than than what we got. And I don't know. Does anybody know if he did dress? Because I'm not sure if he dressed. I don't think he did. Because I would have been sure that we would have seen more of him on the field last night, considering his spot on the depth chart, considering this is going to be his third season with the Falcons. And you want to see what this guy is going to do. Uh, Apparently they don't expect him to play much on special teams because you didn't see him doing that. Normally that's where you see an end of the roster guy get his time, get his reps. But, you know, keep an eye on that going forward. Is Quadre Allison going to move forward as far as uh, with this team, or has he not impressed Arthur Smith yet? Uh, he didn't dress out. Okay, Irv G just told me that Quadre Allison didn't dress out. So not dressing out is one thing. That means that Smith already kind of knows what he has in Allison and wasn't worried about it and wanted to see more of Deontay Foreman, Caleb Huntley, and watch them and see what they can do. So I would say, we'll probably see everybody dressing out next week. And I would like to see something from Quadre Olison and see what he can do in his third season, heading into his third season. Because if he can't contribute now, it's going to be rough. It's you're at a point where you've seen about as much as you can see of him, and that's all you can do. So, we'll see what we get next week. The Falcons will face the Miami Dolphins and travel to Miami. So we get to see a little Tua, and we get to see. Hopefully, we get to see maybe the ones on the field for for driver 2. That's it. Arthur Smith has to be itching to be able to see his offense in action down in Atlanta because he did not see anything last night. So, and I know I've repeated that a few times. I'm sorry. I don't have Dave here. Come on, guys. Dave kind of reins me in. Dave kind of keeps me moving forward. So I don't have a Dave Holcomb today, as I said earlier at the start of the show. Dave is getting married again. He's actually having the ceremony he wanted to have last year. Last year, he did officially get married to Shannon, and this year they wanted to have friends, family, have everybody with them to celebrate his marriage. And all the best to Dave, all the best to Shannon. They are two wonderful people, and as you can tell from Dave on the show, great guy to be with. I love talking football with him. I've been working with him for almost close to 8 or 9 years now, uh, as a writer and doing podcasts. So Dave is the talented one in the bunch. uh, my goal is to actually get Dave a full time gig doing broadcasting. And if I can help that, if I can do that, then I feel I've accomplished something. Uh, that's about all I have for today's show. We're going to close out a little bit early, and you're probably saying, "God, you know, boy, let's finally get off the kill the program and this." Um, I do appreciate everybody who has stayed with the show today, has listened to what I had to say. Uh, as I say, not all bad, but there's still some things we have to see in weeks 2 and 3 of the preseason. So I'm going to say, have a great weekend to all of you. Uh, it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend here in Chicago, and so I'm going to go out and do some gardening and relax. Everybody have a great weekend. I hope you enjoy the games that you're going to be watching this weekend. It's still a lot of preseason to be played today, so let's let's enjoy it. And Dave Holcomb will be back next week, and I will be here next week, and we will have another episode of Jackson Pigskins. Everybody, take care. We'll talk to you soon.